Welcome back to the Bentonville Beacon podcast. I'm your host, James Bell, and this is a special episode, partly because it sits between our two seasons. We're bringing season one to a close, which was all about the outdoor recreation industry here in Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas. And the second season, get ready, if you like the first season, the second season is about mobility. And it's about the current situation with mobility and the future. So we're going to be talking about everything from bicycles, hashtag because Bentonville, to drones, electric cars, autonomous trucks, flying cars, air taxis, eVTOL. It'll be fun. In the meantime, I have the pleasure today of having in the studio my colleague and friend and director of the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit, Kris Adams. Kris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, James. I'm excited to be here. I've seen a lot of the podcasts, so it's great to be on.
Wonderful. Well, let's start with the easy question first. What should our audience know about Kris Adams?
Not much. I'd like to give everyone the full disclaimer that I am not a tech expert. I'm not the IT guy. What's really unique about being in this role is I'm a huge tech fan. And so I get to play the ringleader for the circus that is the NWA Tech Summit, bring everybody together, create some really interesting partnerships and collaborations, highlight some thought leadership and some great tech that's living here in Northwest Arkansas. And I really get to just be a kid in a little sandbox to play around and have some fun with a great event.
Cool. Well, I know your passion is going to be evident throughout this episode, but what brought you to a passion for technology?
You know, I think a lot of it started from an early age. I like to tell my kids that I grew up with the internet, that I'm older than Google, and they think that's scary. But really just sort of coming of age with the big digital revolution that happened in the 90s and 2000s, and doing some work in strategic communications and really just getting a love for how tech can help motivate people and influence people to make decisions for good and be better members of their community is always something I've been really interested in. And so I come to the Tech Summit sort of from that background and with working with nonprofits in that space. So it's been a really natural and easy transition.
That's a good angle to come at it from. Let's talk about the conference. So what is the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit, and what makes it the premier such summit in the heartland?
Yeah, that's really our major selling point. When we tell someone that the Tech Summit is here, we say that it is the premier technology conference here in the heartlands. And we believe that because of our size, pulling in about 1,400 in-person participants in 2019, and then over the last couple of years virtual, about 1,200. Like that size alone makes us sort of unparalleled in the region for technology conferences. We also have a great scope for the event, rather than just being a singular conference, like a cybersecurity conference or a Web3 conference. We carry lots of different tech all under this one banner for a huge event. And then, our setting is really unique. When you think about the places that you can go for a conference, there's no place better than downtown Bentonville. And we're excited that we're hosting it there this year with what Visit Bentonville calls an unconventional convention, using multiple venues in the downtown area so that we don't get that typical conference vibe where you're in one building all day long. We get to put you down by the trails, by the square. It's going to be great. It's a wonderful place to be and to host a conference. So that makes all things Tech Summit really unique in that regard.
I do like that. I've been to so many conferences around the country and around the world, and you go to a hotel or whatever the venue is, and you're just there the whole time, and then you go home and you haven't seen anything about the place.
Yep.
And here in Bentonville, I'm glad we're set up this way because it's absolutely a recruiting tool, if you will. So, Kris, the Tech Summit each year has a theme. I believe last year's was What's Next After Next? Mm-hmm. How appropriate. And this year it's Fast Forward. Why?
We were bouncing around a lot of different ideas as to what we could highlight as a theme. And when we came back to it, technology has had to accelerate at just such a rapid pace over not just last year, but really the last 2 years. From COVID and the many monkey wrenches that threw at us, the technology has had a role in solving, whether it's mobility, supply chain, and even some of our health tech issues. Dealing with a pandemic wasn't easy on anyone, but companies, especially companies with really heavy tech arms, pivoted fast to keep things up and running in what could have shut everything down completely. And so it was definitely an acceleration where they had to fast forward and really up their tech game quickly. And then recently with sort of the Russian aggression in Ukraine, when you talk about having to fast forward quickly, I don't think anyone was quite prepared for Russian cyber attacks being a real potential threat here locally. So things like that just caused organization after organization to really up their game at a faster pace than probably they normally would. And so fast forward really seemed like the perfect fit when we wanted to highlight what tech has been doing over the last year and where it's going in the future.
Yeah, that is perfect. I mean, speaking of Ukraine, of course, my role as an economic developer, I'm recruiting companies, and every once in a while I run across one that has some folks in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. There's one that I'm talking with right now. We sort of paused things for a couple of weeks when the whole Ukraine thing started so that they could just get their people to safety or to a safer situation. And so it's interesting how one event really affects the whole world now in that way. You mentioned the scope of the summit. You actually mentioned a couple of tracks just a moment ago. Could you tell us what the different tracks are in the Tech Summit this year and why you chose those? Yeah.
We're thrilled to have 5 different tracks of really interesting programming. This year with the Fast Forward theme and with these different verticals, it's interesting that so many of them overlap too, because they're all kind of tied into one another. The first one is mobility and supply chain. If you are here in Northwest Arkansas, you've been amazed by autonomous vehicles delivering Walmart goods, drones, and cars on the road. I mean, it's been amazing to see that transition over the last couple of years. And so mobility and supply chain just seemed like really a great place to start, especially with some of the amazing just press that was brought to that with the recent Up Summit. That really highlighted some of the shifts in mobility, and we're so grateful for what they did, putting on a great public show here in Northwest Arkansas for the community to engage in. We're highlighting cybersecurity as a track, like we just mentioned. That's probably the one that's never going anywhere anytime soon, because cyber threats, cyber attacks, just vulnerabilities in all of our systems are things that we need to be aware of and that every business has to keep an eye on moving forward. Health and wellness is our third track. It's going to feature both some of the local hospitals here in town that are doing some really engaging tech, and then some interesting startups, accelerator programs that are doing some really cool work in things like cardiology and medical devices. We have a Web3 track that we're putting on, and we're going to get some help from the wonderful Blockchain Center of Excellence at the University of Arkansas to help curate some really great content for that. Web3 is just such a crazy, exciting, fun new space, from crypto to NFTs to what the next iteration of the internet's going to look like, that we're thrilled to have the university's insight really speaking into that area. And then this year, we're pushing for an entrepreneurship track for both entrepreneurs and investors to both get a good understanding of the local landscape of entrepreneurship and how that works, as well as to host a pitch competition and highlight some companies that are startups doing some really engaging and interesting work here in Northwest Arkansas.
That's awesome. With these tracks and not just being one particular area, it's sort of a non-traditional tech conference. Mm-hmm. So who should attend?
Everyone. Like that's the scary and fun part of it, is that we really try to work to make it as broad a conference as possible for a really big audience. Ideally, we want people who are tech leaders, tech executives, practitioners, developers and engineers. We want that group to attend because we really think there's going to be some interesting insights and exciting new tech that's showcased as part of the event. But beyond that, we want educators, entrepreneurs, and students to engage in the event as well. With the entrepreneurship track and some of the programming that we have for entrepreneurs, it's a perfect fit. When it comes to the student crowd, we really want to see kids develop a love for tech and begin exploring, what a career in tech might look like from a young age. I don't know about you, but when I started working in high school, it was not a tech-based career. The fact that we have kids now in the Ignite program locally and through some partnerships that I know are happening, they'll be able to get their drone license at age 16. If you're telling me I could have been doing that instead of washing cars and mowing lawns, that would have been so much better than sweating in heat like this summer. It would have been so much more engaging, and that's what we want to make sure kids know is out there and they get excited about. So we want them to come participate in the Tech Summit, get a good exposure to what tech looks like here in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, I wish I had that kind of access when I was in school. For me, work started pretty early. My dad had a landscape and lawn care business, and he figured out that if I was upright at the age of 8, if I could walk and talk, I could push mowers and dig holes and the whole 9 yards. I had a full-time job since the age of 8, 35 hours plus a week before school, after school, on the weekends. And, if somehow technology could have rescued me from that, that would be fantastic. As important as it is, all these, everybody's a technologist these days, right? You cannot live without technology now. It's driving every aspect of our lives. You mentioned a number of groups who should attend. There's 3 that stand out who really need to keep their cash in the pocket. That's entrepreneurs and teachers and students. Are you doing anything for them in terms of discounting or anything like that? How are you helping them out?
Yeah, so we have a couple different ways that we're going to really make sure that we reach those audiences. The first is that we've got no cost attendance available for them. We're going to start publicizing soon how each of those distinct groups can access that. But that's our goal, is to make sure that the event is accessible and that financial cost isn't a burden or barrier for people to attend. Beyond that, we're exploring some ways to not just eliminate cost as a problem, but help with facilitating transportation, working with some of the schools and other groups to make sure that the students, aren't paying and that they have a way to get here. And so we're going to be creative and think outside the box, but we don't want there to be any barrier for a student in Northwest Arkansas and in the surrounding area. If they want to participate, we want to make sure that they have a way to get here and share in the fun of Tech Summit.
That's great. I mean, what you're speaking to is one of accessibility, and it's interesting that that is a common theme throughout the Bentonville Beacon episodes. I bet you 50+% of them, at some point, somebody is talking about accessibility, and it feels like Bentonville was really built with accessibility in mind. So, give you a lot of credit for making sure that folks have an opportunity to attend, and then helping them get here. So you mentioned the pitch competition. Could you tell us more about that? When do folks need to apply? Are there particular verticals they need to be thinking about? What does that look like?
Yeah, the pitch competition applications are open now if entrepreneurs want to submit an entry to be considered for part of the pitch competition. Everything's available on our website at nwatechsummit.com. You can download all of the official rules. You can submit an entry. And for the pitch competition, we're working with 3 distinct verticals that we really want to highlight for our entrepreneurs who want to submit a pitch. Supply chain, health and wellness, and sustainability. Those are the 3 areas that we're accepting pitches for. And when we host the pitch competition as part of the summit, the first round on the very first day will be a video-based competition where we're going to get to show a bunch of videos that are submitted. And then the second day, we'll be doing live pitches with a judging panel. It's being sponsored by our friends at Plug and Play and Venture Noir. And then new this year, we typically give away a prize, but our prize is really substantial this year. Our friends at Riviera Partners have provided a $10,000 prize that we're going to be able to give to our first place winner. So we're thrilled to be able to help out some entrepreneurs with what we hope will be something great that they can use to further their work.
Fantastic. In addition to that $10,000 prize, is there anything else that you're going to be offering? Anybody else stepping up to the plate to offer, say, free services or anything like that?
Yeah, we're working right now to kind of build out what that would look like, some mentoring and things like that. And also our goal is to take, companies that present and pitch well in this and offer them the potential to come back and then speak the following year at the Tech Summit to kind of provide an update as to what they've learned to help future entrepreneurs as well. So we think that kind of pairing that as an incentive is really unique. It's not just pitching then, but then building sort of a legacy to come back year after year and update us and let us know how the company's doing.
Awesome. Well, you can count me in, especially for the health tech and med tech type companies, that being my industry background. If we want to give 2 or 3 hours of my time away for that, even beyond my normal work time, I'm happy to do that and help out if that's a good hook to help out people.
Absolutely.
So we should talk about sponsors. I mean, it is our generous benefactors who help get people to the conference, many of them at no cost and transportation and so on. Who are your sponsors this year? Who's helping you out?
I feel like, one of those people who stands up at the award show and you've got to list everybody and you don't want to leave anyone out. So if it looks like I'm reading right now, like that's part of the problem is I don't want anyone to feel overlooked. We've got some great sponsors, specifically some of the ones that have always made the Tech Summit historically possible. We are supported year after year through some wonderful people and connections at the Walton Family Foundation, at the NWA Council, and then, of course, you can't do an event locally in Northwest Arkansas without the help of Walmart, Tyson, and J.B. Hunt. They're tremendous partners who are thought leaders in their industries, and we're so grateful to have them on board. Like we mentioned, this year, the Blockchain Center of Excellence is going to be helping us out with curating content and getting some great speakers. Salesforce is another sponsor that is just wonderful to have on board and have them share a lot of what they do and insights into the tech space. Looking through the list, there's tons that I could mention. If I had to pull out a couple highlights, Tulsa Innovation Labs is one of our partners who's going to be playing a big role this year. We're thrilled to have them on board with all of the work that's happening to help bridge that gap between Tulsa in Northwest Arkansas, just because there's so many things that we're doing similar in both areas, in both spaces with similar tech. So having some friends from just across the border in Oklahoma come play a part is really exciting too.
That's great. We really sit in a region. Northwest Arkansas is a couple of counties, but Tulsa's nearby and some others, and it really is a super region. If you think about it, companies like Canoe have recognized that by relocating their headquarters to Bentonville and a low-volume production facility here, and then an R&D facility 20 minutes down the road in Fayetteville by the University of Arkansas. But in Pryor, Oklahoma, about halfway between here and Tulsa, they're building a huge production facility. So they're going to do their high-volume production there, and I believe that there's going to be some suppliers to them who will fill in around that. And so I just see these two regions and growing together really as a super region. If somebody else wanted to sponsor, how would they do that?
A couple different ways. The easiest way is to probably start at our website, nwatechsummit.com, and all of our contact info is on there for how to get in touch with us. There's a specific sponsor tab on the website where you can kind of look through everything that's possible and reach out from there. We're really interested in getting just a whole slew of different kind of companies engaged, everything from companies that are leading in tech to companies that might be tech adjacent. If you have a product or service and you want to be in the same room and influencing the same people that are really in tech proper, this is a great place to be and kind of highlight what you do and how you can serve the tech community. We're also hoping to include something like an expo demo type kind of booth set up with a lot of the space that we have. Since we've got about 4 different venues and tons of room, we want to make sure that if you have a cool toy to bring with you, that you bring it and show it off. Because now that we're back in person, we're not, stuck in those confines, being behind a screen for a virtual event. If you have something flashy and exciting and fun that you can show us, that we can touch and see, like that's what we want to have at the Tech Summit this year. So if you're building something new, we want you to bring it out, and we'll find a way to make it work.
That's great. It seems like the more and more the world brings its toys to Bentonville for us to check out. We get to see the future of everything. You mentioned the Up Summit earlier, and the community-facing day of the Up Summit was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Right? We got to see a solar plane, a lunar rover, autonomous trucks, hydrogen and electric-powered trucks, drones, prototypes for flying cars, but then we got to see some more birds fly, which was really cool as well. Just phenomenal. So let's keep doing more of that. Let's get back to you. Totally random question. I think you were playing a little coy earlier when you're like, oh, folks don't really need to know about me. How does a guy go from studying religion and getting a Master of Divinity to leading a tech summit?
It's been a fun progression. My background in nonprofit settings and faith-based work really was due in large part to a desire to just make the world a better place. Contribute to the common good. And when I was doing some of that work at a local women and children's shelter, Restoration Village, I was in contact with the previous director of the NWA Tech Summit, Ashley Wardlow. And she and I would talk about all things sponsorship and event related, because over there I was doing some of their nonprofit development. And she was a great conversation partner where we could swap ideas and have this really interesting sort of collegiality where she just kind of helped me get on my feet with it. And through that connection, I heard so much about the Tech Summit. I told Ashley all the time that it sounded like so much fun. And then when I saw that she moved up to the EVP role at the Greater Bentonville Area Chamber of Commerce, and that spot was open, I was like, well, this could be the way I could have my cake and eat it too. I could get to play with all this fun tech and then use it as a way to continue to help just make Bentonville and the surrounding area better, providing things like access, helping with educational efforts and sort of exploring for kids like how they can get into tech careers. Like that to me is the best of both worlds, where I can do something that helps the social good and play in the tech space with all the fun toys at the same time.
So that's really cool. I mean, I think Ashley is a tremendous asset to the person, an asset to the chamber and really to our community. I love that y'all were just have this ongoing dialogue going on. And I think folks should, take note. This is how you get to meet people and find out what the next thing is you're going to do in life. Mm-hmm. It's a great way to do that, even if unintentional. So you aren't from Bentonville or Arkansas, so that puts you in the 62% of people who are residents of Bentonville but aren't from here. Where did you come from, and how did you get here?
Well, like most people, I got here because of a job, which I think is really interesting. Work tends to bring people here, and then you just stick and you stay because you show up and you find that it's the best of all the different places that you've looked at or lived before. Mm-hmm. I grew up on the East Coast. Maryland is home. I actually drove all the way up to Kansas City the other day to root for the Orioles because that was an important thing to do. But yeah, that's sort of where I was for most of my life, is somewhere on the East Coast, in Richmond, Virginia for a while, near the Outer Banks in North Carolina, a little bit of time in upstate New York. And job led us out this way, and we visited, I think, once. And from the moment we got here, checked out the town, we just knew it was going to be the perfect fit. We've been here about 4 years now, so it's been great.
Very cool. What's been the most surprising thing about Bentonville?
When you move somewhere, you move with some hopes and expectations for what the local area will be like. We knew what we'd seen on paper and what we'd seen on a screen. And then to really come and experience it in person, it just blew away even our wildest expectations. It's unique. Of all the places that we've lived, we've been everywhere from small towns to bigger cities. Never been somewhere quite just riding the boom the way that Northwest Arkansas is. And that just adds a whole different dynamic to everything. Local arts and culture, the economy, the educational system, it's all like the perfect mix for young professionals, for people with kids. It's just more than we could ever hope or dream for. And that's why we swear we're never leaving.
Same here. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned it's perfect for young professionals, young couples, and so on. I don't think I've ever mentioned this number on this show, is that our median age is 6 years below the national median.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to do in Bentonville?
Be outdoors, except for weeks like this where it's just unbelievably hot. Whether it's hiking or running or taking my kids on their bikes somewhere. Like, this is the place to be if you enjoy being outdoors. The natural state is just perfect for that. Beyond that, it's a great place for community events. The downtown Bentonville is phenomenal. We go by all the time, and there's always something happening on the square. It's a great place to take in music, and the local shows, theater events. The Walton Arts Center, you don't get much better than that, and all the great concerts at the AMP. It's just, if you like to be out and about and doing things, Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas are great places to be.
It really is. We've got a young family too. We started a little late. We've got a 2-year-old baby boy, and I am looking more and more forward to getting him more involved in the community and outdoors. And you're right, it's blazing hot this week. The good news is, as we sit here in June, this is way abnormal. I think we've either hit or been near some record highs. We do get all 4 seasons here, and that's one of the cool things. I've lived in some other places where we got a lot of one season. In fact, just a few hours south of here where I grew up, you got a lot of one season, as well as in Memphis where I lived for a while, in New Orleans for a while. You got a lot of summer and not much of the others. And I lived in Denver for a while where you don't get the full breadth of the seasons. Certainly not in Chicago either. And here you get 4 good seasons. It's typically pretty moderate. For example, the average high for the year actually happens in July, and it's 89.8. So it gives you just enough of a taste of summer to know that you had it, and then you slip into beautiful fall and all the things that happen with that. What's your best pitch for somebody or a business looking at Bentonville? Why should they be here?
You'd given me this question ahead of time, but I really struggled with how to make the best pitch. And I really think that if somebody wants to be pitched on the area, they've got to come experience it, because that to me is what sells it. It's once you get here and once you take in some of the things that you like and that you love, and you see all that Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas have to offer in those regards, that's what it just sells itself. It's a really unique place, unlike other areas that I've been where, cities and towns really have to work and market themselves and be like, this is why you need to be here. It almost happens organically here, because as you come and take it in, and the Tech Summit's a great chance to do this, people just fall in love. That's what happened to us. And you experience it, you love it, and then you find out it's the place you want to live and work, and you don't leave. So my best pitch is just to come here and try it out. Test it out for a weekend, test it out for the summit, see what happens, and I think you'll be surprised. Home won't look as good anymore. You'll want to relocate.
A fair number of people do that, and even as an economic developer, I find that's the best pitch as well. I can talk with folks about a lot of reasons that absolutely make sense as to why they should be here, whether it's as an individual or their business. But at the end of the day, it's get on a plane, get in your car, however you can, get here, check it out. You probably won't leave. Pack an extra bag because you're going to send for your things. Will you tell me a story? Make this tell me a story about Bentonville. In fact, call it a hashtag because Bentonville story, or even a moment. For example, a moment for me is right behind our office right now on the Razorback Greenway is a bicycle detour sign. Also saw a bike rack on a police cruiser the other day.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. When I think about a quintessential Bentonville moment, for me, it was at the Heartland Summit. I was working at the chamber and got a phone call while the Heartland Summit was going on that they had too much food left over and that they were wondering what they could do with it. Really, that while they had tons of stuff going on, while they've got thought leaders and the governor in attendance and just all of these great things that they were doing, they wanted to make sure that they weren't being wasteful, and they wanted to use it as an opportunity to give back. And so I was able to take some of the leftover and excess that they had to the women and children's shelter I had previously worked at. And that, to me, is like, if we're going to talk a story of Bentonville that is that's just the culture and vibe around here. It's giving, it's collaborative, it's finding ways to not just do what we're doing, but to help others in what they're doing. And so, to me, that was just an extreme example of graciousness and thoughtfulness in the midst of something crazy and busy going on, that people wanted to make sure that their goodness overflowed to others. And I found that wonderful.
That is, yeah, you're right. That is so common here. So the givingness, the generosity, and like you said, thinking about others frankly, if you're running the Heartland Summit, that's got to be a pretty stressful time, because it's a few hundred really high-profile people. As you observed, in the building at that particular moment. You have the governor of Arkansas, you have the governor of Louisiana, you have several people. I really thought when you brought up the Heartland Summit, you were just going to talk about the rock star lineup and that guys like Jim Getz with Sequoia Partners was here, who by his account doesn't go anywhere to speak yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was the Heartland Challenge, not even the Heartland Summit he was at. But still, that's hashtag because Bentonville. That's what happens here. It has that draw. I didn't tell you about this. One more question before I get to this. As we start wrapping up, if somebody wants to learn more about the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit, register or whatever, how do they do that, and how do they find you?
Everything flows through our website. So you can check out sponsorship opportunities, get tickets, stay current, sign up for our newsletter, everything on our website at nwatechsummit.com. Also check out our LinkedIn. That's probably what we use social media-wise the heaviest, and that's where you can stay current on everything from our sponsor recognitions to some of the fun stuff that we're going to be rolling out, including prizes, contests, and things like that associated with the summit. So you'll want to make sure you follow us there and check out our website.
That's great. Well, I know I'll be there, not just because I work for the chamber, but because the opportunity to be there for my second time in person and check out just this phenomenal summit. It can't be passed up. So one more question before we wrap this thing up. I didn't tell you about this one, but if you had a superpower.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's one of those. And that superpower came with a limitation. What would it be? And while you're thinking about it, I'll give you my example. Okay. Tonight, Arkansas and Ole Miss are playing in the College World Series. I would love to be able to pick up my remote and press a special button, and it would transport me to Omaha, Nebraska, and into that game. The limitation would be that it would automatically transport somebody not of my choosing in right beside me, who not only hated sports, but hated baseball. Or maybe that should have said hated baseball and sports, but and they would have been in my ear about it just the entire time. Okay, right. So now it's your turn.
All right, I think what I would want is, of all the flashy superpowers, I'd want to be the guy who could look down the road and see into the future. Specifically, I want to be able to see, which of these tech companies are going to do phenomenal so that I can get in on board and invest in something. And my limitation would be, let's make it only tech companies, because honestly, who's not involved in tech that you really want to invest in at this point? But I can't tell you how many times, like growing up, and looking at things like Netflix and Spotify and some of these things that just have accelerated, that started as something small and people are like, oh, that's never going to catch on. And then it just booms. I'm like, man, if I could have just seen far enough that Netflix wasn't going to stay DVDs in the mail, that it was going to be this booming, unbelievable digital entertainment colossus that it is. That would have been nice. I could be retired now before 40. That'd be kind of good.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Well, random trivia.
Oh, no.
Do you know how Netflix got its name? What the purpose of the name Netflix was? A company that was delivering CDs by mail. It's funny that you mentioned seeing into the future. This is a whole case study that MBA programs study all over the place. Is they actually believed that there would be a time when we would have enough bandwidth that you could stream movies on your television screen into your home. And that's why they created that name. They created a business that counted on what we have today, and that counted on a service being delivered to us that they couldn't control in any way. Now, how's that for looking into the future?
Crazy
and creating
foresight.
Business?
Like that's 1 in a million odds that they'd be able to forecast that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it sure seems
that's
like
amazing.
Hey, Kris, thank you so much for taking the time to join the Bentonville Beacon today. And this has been great. I feel like I've learned more about you professionally and personally, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that over the next few years. And I hope our audience, I'm sure they got a ton out of this as well. And, if you're not at the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit, I don't know what to tell you. You've got to be there. Go to the website, check it out. And if you also still like what you're hearing about Bentonville, visit bentonvilleeconomicdevelopment.com to see more of these podcasts. And if you're watching on your favorite podcast player, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But keep coming back to learn more about Bentonville and its businesses and its leaders, and why this place really does deliver you more of what you want and less of what you don't, so you can really just live your best life. See you next time.